What if the reason you're still single isn't a delay, but a rescue mission? The sacred art of the waiting room. In the heart of the American dream, we are conditioned to be conquerors. We are taught that if we want a promotion, we grind for it. If we want a body transformation, we hit the gym. We live in an era of instant gratification, where a hot meal is a click away and a potential date is just a swipe to the right. But there is one area of life that refuses to submit to the on-demand economy, the human heart. For thousands of single Americans sitting in coffee shops from Nashville to Seattle, the silence of God regarding their romantic future feels less like a season and more like a sentence. You've done the work. You've been to the therapy sessions, you've prayed the Proverbs 31 or Man of God prayers, and you've kept your standards high while your friends settled for good enough. Yet here you are, checking your phone for a notification that hasn't arrived, wondering if God has simply misplaced your file. If you are tired of the platitudes, the just focus on yourself or it'll happen when you least expect it advice, it's time to look at the waiting room from a different perspective. Trusting God's timing isn't about passive resignation, it's about understanding the divine architecture of a life built to last. 1. The myth of the missing piece. The first hurdle in the American psyche is the Jerry Maguire complex, the idea that another person completes us. This creates a desperate urgency in our waiting. We feel like half-finished statues waiting for a sculptor to arrive. However, biblical timing suggests that God is not looking to bring two halves together to make a whole. He is bringing two whole people together to reflect His glory. When we rush the timing, we often end up in codependent collisions. If God gave you the one while you were still looking for them to be your savior, that relationship would eventually buckle under the weight of your expectations. The reality, God is using this silence to solidify your identity in Him. He is ensuring that when your partner arrives, they are a companion to your mission, not a crutch for your insecurity. 2. The behind-the-scenes preparation. In Hollywood, we see the finished film, never the thousands of hours of color grading, sound mixing, and editing that happen in the dark. We view our lives the same way. We see the coming soon trailer for our marriage, but we resent the production phase. What if God is currently working on the person you are going to marry? What if they are currently walking through a trial that is stripping away their pride, or a season of singleness that is teaching them how to lead with humility? If God introduced you today, the version of them you met might not be the version you need 10 years from now. Trusting God's timing means trusting that He is coordinating two separate trajectories to intersect at the exact moment of maximum impact. To rush the meeting is to sabotage the character development required for the commitment. 1. Protection in the form of no. We often view a no or a not yet from God as a cosmic rejection. In a culture that prizes manifesting our desires, an unanswered prayer feels like a failure of faith. But for many of us, our unanswered prayers from 5 years ago are now our greatest points of gratitude. Think of the person you were certain was the one in your early 20s. Think of the toxic patterns you were willing to overlook just to escape the loneliness. God's timing is often a form of preventative medicine. He sees the red flags that we mistake for fireworks. He hears the conversations behind closed doors that you aren't privy to. The perspective shift. God is not withholding a blessing. He is withholding a burden you aren't yet strong enough to carry, or protecting you from a storm you weren't meant to weather. 3. The trap of the digital comparison. The American experience of singleness is uniquely painful because of the digital highlight reel. You see the engagement photos in the fall leaves, the gender reveals, and the "we bought a house" posts. It feels like the world is moving at 2G speed while you're stuck on dial-up. But comparison is the thief of timing. When you look at someone else's clock to set your own, you lose the rhythm of your specific calling. Your story isn't a carbon copy of your best friend's. Some of the greatest icons of faith didn't find their person until they had already established their purpose. When you trust God's timing, you stop viewing your life as on hold. You realize that 28, 35, or 42 is not an expiration date. It is a timestamp on a unique story that God is writing with a specific ending in mind. 5. Cultivating the soil of the soul. Waiting is not a vacuum, it is a greenhouse. In the American agricultural belt, farmers know that you can't scream at a seed to grow faster, you can only tend the soil. During this season, God is asking, can you be faithful with the one I have already given you, yourself? This is the time to build the financial habits, the emotional intelligence, and the spiritual depth that will be the bedrock of your future home. If you can't find joy in the presence of God alone, a spouse will never be able to provide it for you. The beauty of the unexpected yes. The most profound stories in the Bible, Abraham and Sarah, Ruth and Boaz, Mary and Joseph, all involved radical, often confusing timing. None of them followed a standard timeline. Their lives were interrupted by God's better plan. Your story is no different. The loneliness you feel tonight is not an oversight by the Creator of the universe. It is a space He is hollowing out so that when the blessing arrives, you have the capacity to hold it without letting it become an idol. Trusting God's timing is the ultimate act of worship because it says, I believe your character is better than my checklist. It's a move from when, Lord, to whatever you want, Lord. And usually it's in that moment of total surrender that the door finally swings open. If you're tired of navigating the dating world alone and want more biblically grounded encouragement for your journey, make sure to hit that subscribe button. We're building a community that values the process as much as the prize.